Good morning and welcome to Special Edition. My name is Donnie Glover, publisher of BlackUSA.News, and we have with us today the one and only Lisa Hodges Hyken, attorney at law. She is also the executive director of Westport Community Economic Development Corporation. How are you, Lisa Hodges?
I am well. How are you?
Lisa, it's been a rough week.
Mm,
It's been a rough week
exactly.
in the city of Baltimore.
No doubt.
We want to take a moment and acknowledge Shalonda Stokes,
Mm,
also Michelle Blue,
mm.
at their loss. They lost their brother up on Walker Avenue. Shalonda, of course, runs Downtown Partnership, and it's a reminder of how close we all are to this violence. No one's immune.
No one's immune. I mean, I think there was a time where people would take comfort in the fact that most of the gun violence was occurring in
Over there,
communities where, right over there, right. And if you weren't living in the life, then it wouldn't touch you. But this is a clear indication that that is not the case. Here was a man who was, trying to rehab a property, minding his own business in a stable neighborhood, in a very stable neighborhood, African American neighborhood, and it's just devastating. And we can't afford to lose men like him. We can't afford to lose people who are contributing to our city and doing the right thing. And it's really a shame. And our hearts go out to Shalonda and the Blue family.
how do we? What do we do? I saw on the news, um, Little Italy.
Mm,
The general manager at the restaurant in Little Italy was savage and brutally killed.
mhm.
Uh, Fox is something. So now they want the mayor to be at every vigil.
You know,
The man cannot be at every vigil. Now, come
Yeah,
on,
the mayor
that's
can't be
ridiculous.
everything. I think, the
I mean,
key
what
is to
about
stop
what
having these
about?
vigils, right? We need to stop. We need to stop having these vigils. We need to stop having, folks being shot and killed. Um, and we need to do something about the root causes of, all of this.
What's that dog's name?
Jet.
That dog should be named Zeus. That's a Zeus. I heard of
I
Zeus.
know he's always in the mix here.
Zeus attack. But a dog is a reality. I could not imagine living here in Sandtown without my German Shepherd.
Yeah.
There's just too much activity. You trying to work, but some people who don't match the demographics of this area are in my alley.
Yeah. So I had an interesting conversation with Doc Cheatham yesterday about the work that he's doing, some of the community building, and some of the challenges. It's an all hands on deck situation.
Anything you care to share? Doc's always full of energy.
He is always full of energy. I mean, I think he's got some exciting things on deck. He's working on a skate park, so that's really exciting. I think that's really exciting. And just, I mean, he's working on, reducing the gun violence. I think that was so working in conjunction with businesses to reduce the gun violence, trying to, make sure that they cut down on congregating outside of businesses. That's something that we're all challenged with. I mean, as well as how to connect with the police. I think that's a big issue for all of us community leaders because we're not getting the response from the police that really is supportive of what we're doing.
The police have fallen back ever since Freddie Gray. The police
Hmm.
have taken a knee.
Yeah,
I mean, there's all of this talk about the consent decree,
yeah,
but since 2015, and I'm reminded when that consent decree did go down, there were good intentions,
yeah,
but between the consent decree and the prosecution of the 6 cops and Freddie Gray, 3 of whom were black, and secondary and tertiary to the situation, although they went on trial first.
Right. Well,
Baltimore's never really healed.
So the question I asked myself, so when we have the police chief come in, how long does it take to really root out the bad, right? How long does it take?
There's some cops
What do
that
they
can
need
shut
to
this city
do?
down overnight.
Yeah.
But this
You
kumbaya approach is not working.
it's not working. Unfortunately, part of Mr. Blue's wife worked for Internal Affairs, right? So
Yeah,
yeah. So
that sounds more than just a random, because that's the
well,
second cop. One cop was over your way.
yeah. I think we're going to have to look at using investigatory tools for these types of crimes outside of Baltimore City Police.
Also, I'm reminded they found a cop killer in a week.
Did they?
They found that cop killer, the two cop killers, they found them immediately. The ones that shot the lady over your way.
So
Curtis
they
Bay.
arrested they arrested suspects very quickly.
What about everybody else? Doesn't everybody else deserve that type of attention?
I think all crimes do deserve that kind of attention. I think that we also need to, we need to let the criminal justice system play out to see what is the evidence against the suspects who were arrested.
Did you see the young man on the news saying that he deserved to be locked up?
Yeah.
Never in the history of blackness have you heard anybody. I've never heard anybody say I should be locked up.
Yeah. It's sad. It's unfortunate. I think listen, we have people trying to live in the city every day with challenges that began far before they became adults, right? Between lead paint poisoning, between a school system that is ramshackle, that doesn't serve them, between being labeled as having special needs, but not being given the tools to really address those special needs, the frustration of not being able to get a job, and housing instability, living in a food desert. All of these multiple things really lead to a sense of frustration, a lack of hope, and we've got to stop saying the problem is too big, right? We have to start addressing these things. Like, for example, we were talking earlier before we came on air about the fire on Stricker Street that killed 3 firefighters. That property has been vacant for over 10 years, had a fire in 2015, has been cited over the years, and we are still hemming and hawing about, maybe taxing owners of vacant property at a higher rate. We're still, we're afraid that people won't buy property in the city. Well, you know what? I'm afraid they will keep buying property in the city and letting it being vacant because it doesn't cost them anything.
This is why I asked you here. They're saying it gets tied up in the courts for 2 years. Pardon my ignorance. Streamline the process.
Right.
We're in a state of emergency. There's no legal recourse I got 3 of them next door. They've been vacant for 15 years. And people say, well, don't tear them down. Tear them down. What do I care? If you tear them down, I ain't got to look at them no more, because in 15 years, nobody start to invest in them. Or maybe there should be more of a concerted effort, just like you have downtown partnership we alluded to, Shalonda. Just like you have these entities that push downtown, have entities that push Sandtown, that push Westport.
We have an amazing opportunity.
You know
I think the allocation for Department of Housing and Community Development for the Recovery Act funds is over $600 million.
What you gonna do with it?
Exactly. So I'll tell you what they should do with it. They should, start, acquiring these properties. Now we talk about 15,000 vacants in the city. It's probably more than that, but there are very few of those vacants that are under city control. They're all privately owned. Most of them are privately owned. The city is, go ahead.
No, help me out. Why not take
Because
them?
Because we allow it. So these folks, let me tell you, I was looking at a vacant property the other day. The value was somewhere around $7,000. The taxes on it were under $200, right? So all they have to do is pull a permit, and they don't even, half of them don't even pull permits. They don't even pretend that they're going to put any money into these vacants. When my community development corporation gets a property at auction at one house at a time, which is the receiver for the city of Baltimore, I have to show that I have at least $90,000 per unit, that I'm bidding on to apply to rehabbing that unit. These other folks don't have to show anything. They can just show up, get a property, and keep it moving.
But
This
but, but what's troubling for me, Lisa Hodges hiking, is that they'll take somebody's grandmother's house because
Yep.
they got a $10,000 water bill that they're not. They didn't make a $10,000 water bill. We're so adamant about taking old people's property,
Yep.
but we let a negligent landlord from out of town rape the city. I mean, it's taking
We need to have
our
accountability.
peace of mind.
So we need accountability when it comes to the code enforcement arm of housing community development. We need to have community development corporations or somebody, maybe the comptroller's office, auditing these, private, landlords, property owners. How many times have they been cited? How long are these properties allowed to go vacant without even trying to put them in receivership, right? Because a lot of these properties, they could go in receivership. That's the whole point of receivership, is to take vacant properties that are not being placed in service, get them out of the hands of predatory private property owners, and get them placed with somebody who's going to actually pull a permit. Because once you get a property through receivership, you have to pull a permit within 2 years, right? Or else they can take it back. So we got to get more properties into receivership now. The court process does need to be streamlined. Who's advocating for that? The court system is its own separate entity.
After
We need
3
advocacy.
firefighters get killed,
Mhm.
you have to do something. I got to tell you, on December the 28th, I sent a letter to the 6 city state senators about vacant houses and what we are going through in the community and dealing with them. That was December 28th.
Did you get a response?
No response. So my question to you is, whose responsibility is it? And I bring this up because this is an election year.
Yeah.
State senators, state delegates, governor, Maryland comptroller, these people will be trying to get our vote.
Yeah.
But I'm not hearing anything about vacants. Now, Annapolis tells me all the city has to do is push an ordinance, make an ordinance.
So Regina,
that's
Delegate
why I need to talk to you.
Delegate Boyce has a bill in front of the state legislature now to increase to allow the city of Baltimore to increase the tax on vacant property. So by our city charter, we can't just say, you know what, if your property is vacant, we're going to tax you at a different rate. Because it's our charter. So we need that legislative.
Can a charter not be changed? Can a charter not be changed?
It can be changed, and I said, like, Delegate Regina Boyce has a piece of legislation, that's moving through the state legislature this term. I think she tried it last term and it didn't pass. So
I don't understand trying, and I'm not getting technical, but what's the problem? We have technology. We've got metaverses and internet, and are we stupid?
So I think one thing that's happened with kind of the switch to virtual is that, and I experienced this the other day, in order to testify in front of a committee at the state legislature, there is like a 8 hour window 2 days before the hearing. So you have to really be on top of that and watching the bills. And you have to
That's
know when
what
they're
we
coming up.
vote for people for, because we're
They're not
working
telling
nine to
us. They're not
five.
telling us they're not telling us when these bills are coming up. They're
That's
not
the
telling us.
legislators' fault. I've heard
That's
Joe
true.
Carter say we need people to come to Annapolis. Yeah, but we are working,
Yeah,
and we
it's true.
if we knew in advance,
Yep.
we could be there.
So you can, if you go to the Maryland State Legislator's website, there is a little icon in the corner called something My MGA or something. My Maryland Journal Summit, My MGA. You click on that, and you can, I haven't quite figured out how to work it yet, but you can track certain bills that come up. But again, you've got to know what bills are coming up. And I think that's also on the, community leader and advocate side. We have to let the public know. We have to do our job to make sure that the public knows when these bills are coming up. We have to help watching these bills, but also our city council people, right? Because they should be
Yeah,
watching these bills. And I'm about to get on a call later on with Councilmember Odette Ramos, and Commissioner Kennedy is joining that meeting to talk about the land trust effort that Councilmember Ramos is putting forward. And I think that will also help us when it comes to the vacants. We've got to have other tools in the toolbox besides vacant to value, besides just kind of letting these buildings burn and
I'm
all of
finding we are voting for people who don't have the skill set to do the job.
Well, I definitely think that we could have
I
more.
want, this is my wish. Before anybody else runs for another damn office,
Mhm.
number one, don't come over here unless you can do the job. Number two, I need you to state that you can do the job and that you will be responsible. Because what I'm hearing, not from you, but
Mhm.
what I'm hearing
Mhm.
is that's not my job. That's not my responsibility, whether it's the schools, whether it's the police, whether it's crime. It's not my fault alone. I'm not killing anybody. Didn't Mayor Jack Young say that? I'm not out here shooting any. We live here. We pay to live here. We want services. We want police who don't allow people to sell dope, coke, and crack in earshot.
Right. Well, I'm going to quote, what was his name? Nino Brown. I am my brother's keeper, right? We all need to start saying that. And I don't care if you don't have kids in public school. We all need to be about the business of the public schools, because that's really where, our kids should be being nurtured. They should be having an example of how to be a productive adult. I
Why
have,
they got
listen,
all the people on North Avenue if the kids all failing? Because it seems to me if most of your kids failing, then there's a big disconnect between the big salary people at Baltimore City Public Schools and the children of
mm,
Baltimore City Public Schools, the end product. Maybe, maybe they need to shut the school system all the way down to the ground and start over, because something's terribly funky. And what really bothers me is that Black people are part of the problem.
The unfortunate thing is we've got to, when it comes to the schools, we've got to jump onto a moving train and fix it while we're running it, because we can't afford for kids to not have access to teachers, to supportive services, to all the things, right? We know that a lot of our kids, the meals that they get during the day, breakfast and lunch, and even some schools have like you take home a meal with you. That's the meal that they're going to have for the day. Like that is it for them. So we have to jump on this moving train running. I'm a real estate person, so I look at facilities. I have a student that is going to Poly now, and the pool isn't working. They had to shut down because there was a water leak. They were
Last
doing
time you
virtual
told me there was
implementation.
no heat.
There was no heat at my alma mater, City College. I'm reaching out to our alumni association. We have graduates of Poly who are engineers. who are, that's what they do for a living. We have graduates of City College who are captains of industry. We need to get involved. I don't care if you don't have a kid who's going to public school, if you graduated from public school, we've got to get engaged. We've got to start doing more as a community to support schools and to say we are our brother's keeper. We have to get engaged. And we've got to raise money.
A lot of our churches have left the city.
Yeah.
They've moved further uptown. And so when Martin O'Malley was governor, he talked about 21st century schools. Well, there's a new school built in West Baltimore. It's called Dr. Dorothy Height. It replaced the old John E. Howard. But the children in the neighborhood who don't attend the school cannot use the recreation facilities at the school. There's a serious disconnect from Baltimore City Public Schools and the community, and these are Black people. These are Black people saying, no, you're bad. Your badass little kid can't come in this new school. There are Black people saying that, and they should be hung up and whipped.
So let me say this about that. One thing that I have a sense of, just only a knowledge that is probably not as deep as it needs to be, is that we have in the city, we have groups of folks in different neighborhoods that don't get along, and I'll just phrase it like that. So we have work to do to make sure that when we combine folks from different neighborhoods, that they do get along and that there's not further damage and trauma to these kids. I'm hoping that is where the Dorothy Height, kind of disconnect comes from. But what that says to me is that, again, as a community surrounding these kids, we have work to do when it comes to all of these neighborhood beefs and fights and us them mentality, because that elevates when they get older to the gun violence, to the killings, to the fighting, to all of that. One of the conversations that I had with Doc Cheatham last night was about the shooting that happened. It was a shooting that happened recently around North and Fulton, and he said that the folks who were kind of in the life let him know, look, something's bubbling up, something's happening, but they didn't have the resources for crisis intervention to stop it. And so it's not that we don't know some of what the story is about the violence and everything. We're not deploying the resources to shut it down before it becomes a homicide, right? And I'm hoping that's where the Dorothy Height, kind of being protective of their community.
No, I'm gonna tell you, part of it too is a regentrification or gentrification of Reservoir Hill. Now, blocks from where this Dorothy Height was, there used to be some apartments that they called Murder Mall. That's all torn down now, and the property, to my understanding, is owned by David Bramble, Joy Bramble, and Peter Bramble.
Oh yeah, right.
Of the
Madison Park Apartments, right?
What we need is more Lisa Hodges Hikins. See, you touched on something, and I want to bang it on home. We have an issue with, I guess it's classism. One of the things I love about you, Lisa, is that as educated and accomplished as you are, as polished as you are in terms of law and the courtroom and, the LSAT and all of that stuff, you got North Avenue roots. I ain't saying you all from North Avenue, but you understand the corporate world, but you understand the inner city.
We have to. You have to.
You're not afraid of the inner city.
No,
you serve the inner city. But too many of us, we get a little bit of education. We move to a different part of the greater Baltimore area, and then it becomes the us and them type thing.
Right.
So we look down our nose on East Baltimore. We look down our nose on Sandtown, not knowing that somebody from that area might save our life one day. But then we accommodate all of these other people. That's the thing that gets me about us. We just blessed us and our ancestors to survive all that they have only for us to get here. I was raised on to whom much is given, much is required. That goes straight out the window these days, me, myself, and I. It's us. It's accomplished Black people. They lost grandma's house, or they sold it, or they just left it abandoned. They moved to Randallstown. I love Randallstown. I love bunny rabbits, deer, and foxes.
Right.
But I also know about the triggers, rats and roaches. I said triggers.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I think so. I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to the young ladies at Bliss Academy. I think it was right before the pandemic, right?
What's Bliss Academy?
Baltimore leadership. I can't. The rest of the letters escape me right now. Institute for young ladies down there on Franklin and I want to say Franklin and
Monica Mitchell.
Yes. Yes.
By the library, main library.
Oh yes. Wonderful group of young ladies, and they, I asked them. I said, well, how do we, as leadership in the city, create opportunities for you? How do we, like, what's the next step? Where do you see yourself, as contributing to the city? And almost to a person, they said, I'm leaving here. And I said, why? And they said, I don't feel safe. So these are some.
I got an idea though. Maybe we got to hone in on graduating seniors at Morgan, at Loyola, at Towson, at Coppin, and the same way a lot of us went to other cities for college and stayed there, maybe we gotta target some other people. Maybe.
Well, I think we have to start even earlier. We have to start at the middle school, at the high school level. If our children don't feel safe, and when they dream of the next step after high school, thank you so much, Erica, Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women. When they dream about who they're going to be, and when they don't see themselves staying here and contributing, that's a huge lost opportunity. And when we talk about stemming the tide of gentrification, that's how you do it, by keeping our best and our brightest here, by having them feel safe, by having them feel that they can see themselves in leadership. They can see themselves as CEOs of companies that are based in Baltimore. They can see themselves as innovators being supported by this community. If they don't see that, we're losing out.
But Lisa, this is where I'm really, really perplexed. We have more nonprofits in Baltimore than you can shake a stick at. We've got more nonprofits than we have churches. And so many of them, they paint this story. We're coming to the inner city. This is my Anthony Brown impression. We're coming to the
inner city. Don't dog out my boy. Don't dog out my boy.
I'm pulling for him. I'm sending that hand up here because Katie breathing down his neck. But, how do we, oh man, you made me lose my thinking. The nonprofits, they all claim to help poor, struggling Black people. They get millions of dollars. Where the hell are they?
So let me say something about nonprofits.
By name.
I'll say this about nonprofits, right? There are some very prominent nonprofits in the city that the principal founders made money off of some questionable housing practices.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. They give up scholarships to HBCU students.
So you have to when we think about philanthropy, they have their own culture, they have their own priorities, and they have their own belief system about what it's going to take to change the tide, and how they want to invest their money and how they want to see returns. So philanthropy is as you intimated, a multi-billion-dollar business for organizations based in this town and in the Baltimore metropolitan area. It's too often, I think it's a top-down approach as far as investing instead of a bottom-up. So unless you are a nonprofit that has determined, look, these are the things that we think are going to stem the tide. These are the things that we think we're going to lean into. And then you shop for the money that aligns with what you think. You're going to always be chasing that dollar. You're always going to be doing things that don't necessarily change the game on the ground where you are, but it satisfies the metrics that the funder has set out. And that's not been a winning strategy for us in Baltimore.
And the minute you say something about those funders, they will whitelist you, whiteball you, and you won't get any money anymore.
Right.
Some would say blacklist or blackball, but this is blackusa.news. So they will whitelist you and they will whiteball you, and you won't ever get another dime again. You have to, and so.
But we have to look. But we have to look. You know what? I think the what is it? Rahm Emanuel said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." The good thing about what's going on now, hey, from Tampa, the good thing about what's going on now is that there's a lot of money nationally available to folks. And so we just have to kind of look for it. JP Morgan Chase just announced, a multi-million-dollar fund investing in cities. There are folks all across the country who are looking at Baltimore who want to help. So we, can't be hamstrung or tied just to the Baltimore-based nonprofits, and we also have to
go
a little
get money
power
elsewhere.
Yeah, we've got to look nationally, but we also have to do the work on the ground to say, okay, what are the things that are going to really work in our community? So we know that violence interrupters like Safe Streets work. So we've got to lean in on that, and we've got to keep looking for the cash, keep looking for the support.
I got questions about Safe Streets.
Well, I think in the city, I think it's uncontroverted that they have succeeded in reducing the violence in the areas where they're working.
I don't know. Let me tell you why. If
Okay.
I'm making $100,000 a year selling dope, and then you will give me a $25 an hour job, you have not satisfied my thirst for money. Now I might come to this job and take this 20, 25 a year. But then you put these people on the same corner with other people who's still making that $100,000 a year. That's like putting Pookie in charge of the crack house. How long is that going to work?
I can't. I don't know all the inner workings of Safe Streets, but what I do have a sense of is that the folks who are on the corner listen to people who have had similar experiences, who know what it's like.
I got a question. How can a cat who's gone to jail advocate to me not to go to jail? Don't you need someone who has not gone to jail?
No, I disagree. No. You need, I think, and I say this having formerly done criminal defense work and have been in every jail in the state.
Don't go to jail, boy. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, how long is that going to work?
You need to know, but people need to know.
I'm a dude that's been to jail, and I'm telling you, don't go to jail. Don't keep doing this because you're going to go to jail. Ego or street cred,
I think you need somebody who's been there and who can demystify and de-romanticize. Like some folks romanticize it before they experience it. Jail is no joke. And it is a life-changing experience that you don't want to, get to know. But until somebody who's been there tells you about it, it just doesn't resonate. I support.
Hold on. In the day of internet technology, Instagram, TikTok, and all of this, we really got to tell somebody you don't want to go to jail. I mean, our ancestors, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, right out of this bold state, Benjamin Banneker, after all that they've sacrificed, we literally have to tell them again, in 2022, you don't want to go to jail. Then we're really moving backwards as a people. I mean, we already know America ain't our friend. But that means we're moving. We got all of these material things, all of these accoutrements of success. Christmas comes around, we talking about $300 belts. We've lost our damn mind.
Oh, I'm still here. I gotta plug into the electrical over here.
It's all good. I don't know. I tell you something. This is what I think. Some people would not be having sex because they're creating babies and they ain't raising these babies.
Well,
So it goes back to that multi-generational, you got people. Someone I was talking to, their granddad, and they're like 60 years old.
mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you got 25-year-old granddads. Oh, okay.
No, not 25.
35. My grandma had gray hair. She moved slow. And she made the best biscuits and rice and gravy. Oh, my God. But now grandma at the club. Grandma on TikTok taking her clothes off.
Well,
Can you imagine your grandmother with a tattoo on the bottom of her back?
No, definitely not Grandma Elizabeth. No. But, again, I got to go back to the root cause conversation. When you provide, so one thing that we've been able to do in Westport, and I have my hat is off to Coach Melvin Rust, who is the coach of the Westport Patriots. He gathered up, his volunteer coaches. He has been making a way out of no way. We hope in the spring to provide him with a new practice field for the Patriots. Let me tell you something. Last year he had 200 kids coming out. These little tiny boys and girls out there playing. And you know who else comes with them? The parents and the young grandparents. And they're not in the club. They're watching their kids. They're watching their grandkids. They're interacting. And we took that opportunity to say, you know what? While you're here watching your kids, and when you're coming to pick up or you're dropping off, let me give you this home ownership packet. Let me give you this information about community land trust. Let me give you this information about rental assistance. We have to really lean into creating opportunities for people to do good, creating opportunities to get them the information they need to, level up. And that's where the work is. And and it doesn't matter. We can't be blaming everybody else. It can't always be somebody else's fault. We all have to take responsibility for the state of the city.
I want to say something because I've heard Mayor Brandon Scott say it. I heard Commissioner Harrison say it. I heard Commissioner Bant say it, that the men in the community need to step up. I want to put them on pause for a second. And a shout out to the brothers who've been doing the damn work and didn't need nobody to tell them to do the damn work and going to continue to do the work. Mm-hmm. So they may want to qualify that statement when they go and make it. When I think of a Charlie Duggar, I don't know if you've ever met a Charlie Duggar. He's been working in the community for years, and he's trained many of us to do the same thing. So despite that overlook by our politicians, a shout out to the men in the community who've been men, who are still men, who've been taking care of other people's kids, who've been doing the work. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Yeah. We have to stay in the game. But I think the other piece is that we've got to move our people to vote, to understand,
what they also vote for who? Vote for the Democrats. The Republicans have put more money at Coppin than the Democrats. So help me out. I know the Republicans nationally are the devil, but here in Maryland, we've been able to get more money at Coppin than ever before from Republicans. Help me out. Why do I love Democrats so much? West Baltimore, East Baltimore, all my life has been Democrat, but we constantly overlook Dorothy Height Elementary School, Henderson Hopkins. They put that new school over there. Oh, but you black kids can't come in. Hold up. Wait, what? Democrats are racist too.
Listen, I don't think that we need to put our eggs in all of anybody's basket. I'm a Democrat, but I think we as a city could use a robust Green Party. I think the Green Party is doing more. There's a Democratic Socialist Party that is doing more. And folks need to really, avail themselves of the information that candidates are putting out there about their platform. They need to ask questions.
I got a solution.
What's the solution?
You need some Republicans in Baltimore City politics because that's the only way you're going to get a level of accountability. It's the same as if Baltimore were 9-1 Republican. You would need some Democrats in there for some accountability. Right now, there's no accountability. Democrats watch Democrats back. And now when your ass get in trouble, hey, I need your help.
Well, I think we have to learn how to hold those Democrats accountable. I think we have to, make our feelings known, but we also have to, donate because that's what they, elected officials pay attention to, even if it's a small dollar amount to the person, to the candidate that's speaking, to your
And it's
values
for
and to
public
your
service.
priorities.
It's not celebrity life. A lot of black people, I ain't talking about white people, we get into politics on a career move tip. It's supposed to be about public service.
Mhm.
And we know when that person, that candidate, when the eye is off of the public service and it's over on, well, what can I get out of it? I mean, they already talking about, the future for Brandon. Martin O'Malley, he was mayor, he wanted to be governor. Governor wanted to be president. Focus on the job at hand. Do the job at hand. That's what they taught us at Poly at Western City.
Yeah.
Master
Yeah.
where you are. Then you
Yeah.
move to the next level. You can't go to algebra 2 and you ain't mastered algebra.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think a good case study in how to address the situation that you're talking about is how we got to have an affordable housing trust in the first place, right? United Workers worked and organized and collect signatures on petition to establish the fund. Elected officials ended up negotiating with United Workers to have them not go forward with the charter amendment to be able to manage the fund because they didn't want to look weak, right? That was a case study. It took a lot of work. It took months of hard work, but and took focus on a single issue, on that affordable housing trust fund. That that is what we need to be doing on all of these other issues as well. That's what we need to be doing on schools. We need to pay attention. There's legislation in front of the state now to establish some elected slots on our school board. There's a lot of support statewide for that, for us to have an elected school board, at least a hybrid school board, not just appointed. We need to lean in on that. And that information needs to be disseminated through churches, through fraternities, sororities, through all of our social organizations, on social media, on the whole nine. We have got to stay engaged in keeping our electeds accountable. We got to pay attention.
Lisa, this is a gubernatorial election year. What do we want from the next governor of Maryland?
Wow. I think top of mind for me is we want to get that red line built. As a city, we were robbed, we were hamstrung, we were hoodwinked and bamboozled by, the current
It started with Martin O'Malley. Tell the truth, shame the devil. Martin O'Malley could have left that project shovel ready, but
That's
he was
true.
busy running for president, and he did not do the damn job. The same thing that I'm saying, we want to go to the next level, and all he did was kick the can down the road. Don't let that O'Malley off the hook. He sued,
No, I
so he will
won't.
not be
And the reason why,
responsible.
and I'll tell you what happened, in my opinion, my humble opinion, in order to get those, the purple line jumped Q in front of the red line. So why would that jump the Q? Suburban Washington votes. Suburban Washington votes. We have got to show that our vote is important, that our vote counts.
So
We've got to also work
how
with
do we
regional
make this
partners.
how do we make this next governor make the red line a priority now?
Everywhere the candidates go, we've got to talk about it. We got to be about it.
Man, I got to caution you on one thing. I think I shared this with you offline. I'm not the biggest fan of the red line. I'm not the biggest fan of anything that will disrupt existing businesses and existing black communities like the Nowhere Highway. I hear what people are saying, but I've lived through the actual results of what happens when you tear down an entire community, and I don't trust these people. I don't trust these people to serve my community. I trust them to serve their self-interest, just like Schaefer when he knocked down all of them houses down there on Franklin Street, Mulberry Street for that Nowhere Highway. I don't trust these people. They just like the vaccine. they lack credibility in the Black community.
So we can learn from history, right? And we can also learn from best practices. Our neighbors to the south in DC, they reinstituted the streetcar system, like above, the light rail on H Street. There was a whole program to support those businesses before any shovel went in the ground. There was a whole intentionality about it so that their service wasn't disrupted, so that they got aid, so that they were not going to shutter those businesses. And those businesses survived the construction of the streetcar on H Street, and now they're thriving. They are thriving. We don't have to go down that road where businesses suffer because of the red line. When you look at the maps in the 60s of the proposed transit system for DC and for Baltimore, they got all of the transit and they are thriving. They are thriving. We did not get it. We need an east-west connector. We need a way to connect people to job centers.
There's just no doubt about it. In America.
Mm.
And it's representative of this highly segregated mindset that goes back to Mayor J. Barry Mahul. Did I ever tell you about J. Barry Mahul?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ashby Hawkins and George McMecken stayed on him like black on tar, white on rice.
So who are the McMeckens of today? That's what we need. That's where I'm getting at.
That's why I call you, because you smart and you're a lawyer and you got street cred, but you also have an academic background and a professional background that we need. I'm really setting you up.
And there are more people out here. There's Neka Namde, who is in charge of Fight Blight Baltimore. Right, exactly. There's Claudia over at Community Development Network. There are a lot of people who are doing the work, and they're doing great work, and we have to really amplify, those folks as well.
I want you to consider running for mayor.
All right. A thankless job. I'll consider it.
But our subway goes from downtown to Northwest Baltimore. See, it's hard to fix when you start off stupid. That's like building a house on sinking sand. If you live anywhere around Morgan State University, you will have generations of your family who have never caught the Baltimore subway. Now, Atlanta, they've got a north-south leg and an east-west leg. We got one leg that goes straight out there to Owens Mills. How do you fix stupid?
So you know what? We need a regional transit authority. We need to take transit out of the hands of the state. I'm telling you, Donnie, we have an opportunity. I think all of our the counties around us have Democratic county executives. We have got to leverage that opportunity. We've got to think regionally. We've got to connect people to job centers. We have to take transit out of the hands of the state, and we need to step up.
I'm going to tell you something else we have. I like that idea. It makes sense. We also have 9 black college presidents between Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
9 black college presidents. I'd love to see what that think tank looks like. Because what else is the purpose of education if it isn't to make life better? We have all of this brain power, but we lack the common sense. See, Harriet Tubman would have left all of these people.
Well, but you know what? I look at it
very smart. They're heady. They got briefcases.
Well, but you know what? I look at it in a different way as well. So we all know that we have these HBCUs, right? We know that Morgan has the only architecture school in the state. Why do we, as real estate professionals, as folks working for Department of General Services, the city, whatever, why aren't we hiring more of those graduates? Why aren't we hiring more of those Morgan engineers? Are we saying that for the duration of the engineering program, that there are only a handful of Morgan grads who are worthy enough to work for the city to help us out?
Yes.
We need to make those demands of area employers that their workforce reflects all of the talent that we're graduating in from these HBCUs.
Because we don't have people like Marion Barry, like Maynard Jackson, who understood the interrelationship of politics and economics. I said this last night on WEAA, Morgan State University, with Mike Nice. We don't understand the interrelationship. They call it political economy, the determination of who gets what, when, and where. That's what politics determines.
So we've got a great opportunity, right? Because the Greater Baltimore Committee, Dan Fry is stepping down. They're merging with, what is the Economic Alliance of Baltimore? There's a new,
These people have raped our city for quite a long time. So now they're not raping us anymore. Oh, wow. Thank you.
But so the question that I have is, who's going to step up?
Because they don't come uptown. BDC doesn't come uptown. And I don't understand why in a black city, I got to beg you to come uptown. Because I would say, shut it down. Look at the harbor. All of that emphasis on the harbor. That's what BDC does, right? Baltimore Development Corporation. The harbor is empty.
Yeah.
It's flatline. And you can pay me $50,000 or $100,000. I still ain't moving down there.
Well, I mean, but there are a lot of people that call downtown home. There's a lot going on downtown.
Ain't no kids downtown. It's all adults, and they no.
Well,
okay. Let's put a plug in for you. Put a plug in for the Westport Community Economic Development Corporation. How can people get in touch with you? What do you need from people? Phone numbers and all that good stuff.
Okay, so my email is lisa@westportcedc.org. Our website is www.westportcedc.org. What do we need? So I'm happy to announce that we just received an award of $750,000 in Affordable Housing Trust Fund from the city. We will be using that to rehab houses in the Westport, Mount Winans, and Lakeland area for home ownership. So what I want people to do is simply go to the website. We're going to put up some of our floor plans. We have home ownership trainings that we do in conjunction with Fulton Bank. Look out for that. Go to our Facebook page, which is Harbor West Collab, and just, participate in all the things we have to offer. And that's what we'd like.
Lisa, why do you care? You easily could be on a beach in Palm Springs somewhere.
Just like you said, you were raised to whom much is given, much is expected. It's an honor to serve my city, and I want to see everybody win.
And what years were you at Poly?
I went to city first of all, and women in my family don't talk about our age. You're not going to backdoor me into giving you my age,
I'm so
my
sorry.
dear.
I love city. I love city.
City forever. Yes.
Thank
you. We're going to mobilize our alumni association to address some of these facilities issues over at City. It breaks my heart that there's a swim meet between City and Poly on the 31st of January. Neither school has a pool that's operational. We can't have them meet at either school. I'm heartbroken about that. We need to do better for our kids.
Poly North City has a pool.
Nope, neither one.
Lisa, please don't let this be the last time. Thank you for enlightening us. Thank you for standing in there and taking these questions. I know it's not your fault, but I know you know the solutions. I really believe that.
I look forward to in the spring having you come and do this broadcast live from Westport. Let's make it happen.
I would love to. I love Westport.
Let's do it. Oh, can I announce one more thing before I go?
You can do whatever you like, Lisa.
So we are, please, keep your ear out. Stay tuned for Greg Nally of Nally Fresh has reached out to us. He knows that we are in a food desert, and we're going to pilot a program where our residents can order salad boxes from him, and there'll be a once a week opportunity for them to pick it up. We're going to put some of our money in so that you're not paying the retail prices. and this is going to be for our residents. So I'm going to keep you posted on that. But this is just one of the ways that we can think creatively about addressing the food desert situation in communities. We got to save ourselves. We cannot wait for anybody. But my hat is off to Greg Nally for thinking outside of the box and coming to us. I encourage other communities to partner with food retailers to do the same.
Lisa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for educating us. Thank you for leading our communities and going where no one else would dare go. Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass are most proud of you.
Thank you. Take care.
We'll be back at 10 o'clock with William Honolulu and the BlackUSA.News Morning Show. My name's Donnie Glover, and thank you for tuning in. Hey, Leroy.